Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Andrew Lee. I'm the artistic director at DC Strings Workshop, and I have one of my friends, James Mayo, here. He is a baritone. He has a choral group in Baltimore, and we're so excited to kind of welcome him to our program and share more about his reaction and the things he's doing with the musical world with our DC Strings Workshop audience. James, welcome. How's it going?
Thank you, Andrew. Everything is well. Thank you for having me this morning. I'm so excited to be here. Just
Yeah,
excited.
we're excited to have you. So this is a very uncertain time. There's so much that's actually happening. Peaceful protests and marching, COVID-19, um, the inability for a lot of us to still perform actively like we used to, and people are having to reshape how they reach out to their students and how they connect. How has this time been for you?
Um, it's been just like for everyone else. It's been pretty unprecedented and just kind of like trying to figure things out. But I feel like I've been pretty productive in that just preparing for next season, hopefully, fingers crossed, for Camerata Baltimore. And we're solidifying our board of directors and, getting declination letters or acceptance letters. And we're just kind of moving forward in hopes that, the season will proceed as planned. So
Absolutely, yeah.
that's where we are.
It's quite a time. I guess introduce yourself to our audience. Tell us more about Camerata Baltimore and your experience as a musician. I know that you're an opera singer, that you are have been a choral director, that you have had a lot of different musical experiences. You've served in the ministry. Like, let us know. Like, share more about your background.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started singing when I'll start very young. I started when when I was 9. I went to the
Wow.
Baltimore School for the Arts, and
Hey.
I went there for a couple of years, and then I went to boarding school for a couple of years. I graduated from Towson University, and I graduated with a choral conducting degree from Morgan State University. Go Bears, Fair Morgan. And then I taught for 10 years in both the private and public sector. So I did a number of schools. I started in Baltimore City public school system. I taught at the Hackley School, the Hunt School of Princeton, Noble and Greeno School. Um, and then I started the nonprofit Camerata Baltimore in 2014. December 5th, 2014 is when we started. So we've been in existence for about 6 years now. And we are poised to be a great group. I think what has been good for us in this season is that we're a small group, so we're giving great thought to doing rehearsals because larger ensembles can't, but we can really spread out in a bigger, I guess, hall, and we could actually have rehearsal. So we're giving great thought to that. But that's kind of what I do in a nutshell.
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with your group and know that you go on annual tours and you travel throughout not only the city but the region. So that's it's really exciting that you're still able to have that planning. So tell us more. Like, how are you still reaching out? I know you have a studio. You perform actively. Do you still give lessons? Do you still have students? How do you go about that? And kind of what advice have you given to the students that you're currently teaching?
Yeah, so I honestly I gave my students the summer off, as I would, if we were not in these turbulent times, to kind of reflect and enjoy time with their family. I know they've been with them now for 3 months, but I still think, family time is really important still, even now. And so, but what I've given them to do is really just continue to practice. I have a piano and a voice studio. And so they have a number of different exercises that keep them nimble and agile throughout the summer. And my advice to them is just continue to practice. Perfect practice makes perfect. And so just making sure that you're, doing the exercises habitually and doing them on purpose and and if, being very intentional about what it is that you do. And if you have any questions, they're always free to call me, which they do.
Nice. What do you think this moment represents for music and for classical music in particular? There's been a lot of conversation about And we know just that classical music doesn't have the best track record or doesn't seem accessible to many people of color and women in particular. We don't see them well represented in orchestras, symphony orchestras, and arts institutions. The music of people of color and black people in particular is not as performed as widely or as actively as it should be. Do you think we'll see a shift given some of the conversations that we're seeing in the country around equity and inclusion?
That's a great question. I am optimistic about the conversations, and the performances. I think I'm hoping and I'm praying that this shift that we're seeing right now, post George Floyd, will make some significant changes in how Black people and people of color are able to access the arts, particularly classical music, as you mentioned. How I see that, I'm not quite sure yet. I'm still very skeptical, to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
and frank, simply because the road has been so arduous for Black people to get in, to playing classical music. I think and there's an equation with that. So the first part of that is like not only have non-white, non-color people, or I should say non-people of color, have not given us easy access, but we also have the issue that there are not a lot of Black folks who are interested in doing classical music. We have a great number, but there needs to be more exposure to, particularly our children, and finding an innovative and creative way to pique their interest.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two issues that I see. Can that happen over this period? I think so. Given the right tools and the right resources, I think we can, make that happen. I think what's really important with the first portion of this in gaining access is creating our own, and really. Um, we have resources to different churches and things of that nature, and different people and economic, um, people with money, basically, to make it so that we can build our own halls, and our own amphitheaters and all of these things. And I think we should begin to really invest in ourselves. And I'm hoping that during this season, that's what we'll do. We'll begin to kind of plot, plan, strategize, economize, and mobilize in a way that will make us independent of white folks.
I think that you really hit it on the head, and a lot of this has to do with, you know, putting out for so long, arts institutions have kind of used elements of culture when it benefits them, and to be in positions where we can help to shape the programming or shape the artist or shape what is being presented is critical. We also need to continue to um, ask our members of Congress and elected officials and city council members and mayors and school board members, we need to continue to agitate and push and hold them accountable, because a lot of times people get so caught up on the national political landscape and what's happening at the White House, and they kind of forget that their school board member still has a lot of control over what curriculum is assigned, how many instruments get purchased, how many music teachers you have in a school. Do you have a dedicated music teacher, band, chorus, or orchestra, or do you just have a general music teacher? I mean, these are all very important conversations, and as the economy continues to contract and go up and down, we know there are going to be hard conversations that schools and principals and administrators are having about school programs and figuring out
Right.
what gets cut and what stays. And usually the first thing cut is music and arts. So we need to continue to be proactive now. And DC Strings does a lot of this work, reaching out to our city council members, building relationships with the school board, to make the case for arts and for music, because we know that in DC there aren't that many orchestras. There are barely choruses. And it's really challenging in a school system in a district that has as much money as DC does, that this is not more of a priority.
Yeah, absolutely. And I say the same thing about Baltimore City Public Schools in that they have, from what I understand, they have a $1.2 billion budget. And I think it's, probably one of the nation's top five budgets you know, in the nation, and it's unfortunate that they don't have what it is that they need, the resources and the tools they need on the local level to have successful programs. And Baltimore City used to be a very fine school system, and in some ways it still is. But when it comes to the arts, they were always the first to be cut. And you have to have, I think, like you said, on the local level, you have to have principals and you have to have people who are interested in building those types of programs in their schools and really allocating funds for that. And yeah, that's really what it is.
Yeah, and that's ultimately, I know for DC Strings why we exist, and probably your group as well, to create some of these opportunities, to create some of these pipelines, to give access to people who may not have had an opportunity to perform, or were written
Right.
off by other groups or other orchestras, that they matter and they have value, and we're excited to be able to partner and work together to showcase what's possible.
Absolutely.
So that's really
Absolutely.
important. Are there any closing thoughts or other things you want to share with our audience? Tell us more about Camerata Baltimore. Like, where can they find you? Anything else you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Camera Baltimore, as I mentioned, we're a nonprofit, and we basically, our mission is to give access to color people, give them access to choral music. And so we really focus on doing major choral works every year. And as I mentioned earlier, we're in the process of making sure that our concert season goes forward. And so this year we're being quite ambitious in our approach. We're going to do three major choral works. The first, of course, being our annual Messiah, which is planned for early December, usually the first Sunday, the first weekend in December. And then the second weekend in December, we're also planning to present Sanson's Christmas Oratorio.
Yes,
Um,
yes. We've performed both. So Messiah is a DC string staple. Every December we have 5 to 10 performances throughout the city and then the region. So hopefully we'll be able to collaborate on that.
yeah, fingers crossed, fingers crossed.
Fingers
And
crossed.
and then we're still planning for the tours. I'm actually on vacation with one of my best friends right now. He works at one of the schools where we tour,
Nice.
and so I'm here just kind of visiting, just for a few days. But we're hoping to do our annual New England tour, and we also proposed, before, like in February, before all of this went down, we also proposed a second tour in February for Black History Month in the South. And so we're working with schools to see how that can all pan out. We don't even know if schools are going to be open or what have
Mm-hmm.
you. So that's the issue of tour. But then for the spring concert, we have rescheduled for his Requiem. I
Right.
did not want to do that. I really wanted to do Forest. So
I
we're going to
really,
research.
I really
That's going
wanted
to
to
be
do it
part of
too.
our spring concert. So and the Cantique de Jean Racine, both Forêt. So we're really excited. Like I said, we're very ambitious,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's going to be a successful season,
Well,
whether we do it live or virtually.
we're definitely looking forward to it and being a part of it. And thank you again, James, for being a part of what we're doing at DC Strings. You've performed, over the years at several of our concerts, and I'm so excited to see that your group is still moving forward in Baltimore and some of those words of wisdom that you shared with us. So thanks again for being on, and we'll keep you posted. Be safe.
Awesome. You too. Thanks, Andrew.